"I came home and saw the CEO cooking for me," she said. "I'm staying with you tonight." I almost dropped my keys when I opened the door. The smell of garlic and butter hit me first, then the sound of a pan sizzling, and finally, the sight that made my brain stall completely. The CEO of my company was standing in my tiny kitchen, barefoot, wearing one of my hoodies, cooking dinner. She turned around like this was the most normal thing in the world and said, "Hey, you're home early. Dinner will be ready in 10 minutes. For a second, I honestly wondered if exhaustion had finally broken me. 3 months earlier, I was just another mid-level employee trying not to get laid off. My name is Daniel. I live alone in a small apartment, paycheck to paycheck, the kind of place where the heater makes suspicious noises and the couch has seen better decades. I worked hard, stayed late, kept my head down. Nothing special. Invisible, really. She was the opposite of invisible. Emma Clark. CEO, media darling, magazine covers, billion-dollar decisions before breakfast. The first time we spoke was in the elevator. It broke down between floors, trapping us for 45 minutes. No assistants, no bodyguards, just two people awkwardly standing too close. She laughed when my stomach growled and offered me half her protein bar. I skipped lunch, I admitted. "Me too," she said. Bad habit when you're pretending to be superhuman. That was the first crack in the image. After that, she started noticing me, asking how projects were going, remembering my name. Once, when my mom got sick and I had to leave work suddenly, she personally approved my paid leave. "Family matters," she said quietly. "Always." I didn't realize how rare that kindness was until later. The night everything changed started horribly. I'd been called into HR that afternoon. Budget cuts, restructuring. They said my role was under review, which is corporate language for start updating your resume. On my way home, my car broke down in the rain. I walked the last mile, soaked, angry, humiliated, rehearsing how I'd stretch my savings if the worst happened. That's why, when I unlocked my door and saw her in my kitchen, I thought I'd finally snapped. "Emma," I said, "why are you in my apartment?" She smiled gently. "You left your laptop at the office. I went to return it, and your building manager mentioned your car trouble." My mind raced. "You didn't have to." "I know," she said. "I wanted to." She plated the food and set it on the table like she'd done this 100 times. "You look like you haven't eaten," she added. I sat down, still stunned. The food tasted like something out of a restaurant. Warm, comforting, real. And suddenly, without warning, I felt my chest tighten. I hadn't realized how alone I'd been. Halfway through dinner, she stopped eating. "Daniel," she said, "I heard about HR." My fork froze midair. "I didn't want to say anything at work," she continued, "but I need you to know something. I stopped the review." I stared at her. "Why?" She looked down at her hands. "Because the numbers didn't tell the whole story. They never do." Then she took a breath and said something I never expected. "I started this company with people, not metrics. And lately, I've forgotten that." The room felt heavier. She stood up, walked to the window, and said quietly, "My husband passed away last year." I didn't know that. The news never mentioned it. "I went back to work after 2 weeks," she said. "Everyone praised my strength, but no one asked if I was okay." She turned back to me, eyes shining but steady. "You did. In that elevator. You didn't even know." I remembered it then. "Are you okay?" Just a simple question. She smiled sadly. That question stayed with me. I didn't know what to say, so I just listened. She told me how lonely success can be, how people stop seeing you and only see what you represent, how every room is full, but no one feels close. "I don't need another hotel tonight," she said softly. "I don't need silence. I need humanity." Then she looked me straight in the eyes and said the words that still echo in my mind. I'm staying with you tonight. Not in a romantic way, not in a dramatic way, in a human way. We talked for hours about childhood dreams, about mistakes, about how kindness is often invisible but unforgettable. She laughed when my neighbor's cat jumped onto the balcony. I fixed the heater with duct tape and pride. At some point, she fell asleep on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, peaceful in a way I'd never seen her at work. I realized something then. Kindness isn't about power, it's about presence. The next morning, she left early. Before she walked out, she placed a note on the table. Thank you for seeing me. Don't ever stop being the person who asks. At work, nothing changed on the surface. Same meetings, same titles. But everything felt different. She started a new initiative focused on employee well-being, real conversations, real flexibility, real compassion. And me? I stayed. Not because I was saved, but because I mattered. Sometimes when life feels heavy, I think back to that night, to the smell of garlic, to a CEO cooking dinner in a small apartment, to the reminder that no matter how high someone climbs, we all need the same things: to be seen, to be cared for, to be human. And if kindness can cross that distance, maybe it can cross any distance at all.